Hello, my loves, and welcome to Strange Playgrounds. Now, those of you who keep abreast of topical events, certainly here in the UK, may have noticed that recently our fourth unelected Prime Minister in a row, Rishi Sunak, announced that he is going to be requiring high school students, to study mathematics up to the age of 18. This in the midst of one of the most significant financial crises the UK has ever seen. The utter collapse of all of our infrastructure, our public services, the erosion of workers' rights, and one of the greatest drops in standards of living in recent memory, the disaster caused by Brexit, the escalating corrosion of the UK itself on a national scale as a result of the last 10 years, 20 years of Tory rule. But we're going to be requiring high school students to study maths up to the age of 18. First of all, it's utter. Anyone who knows anything about the Tories and the way the right operate in this country know that it's utterly performative. It means nothing. It's another diversion, distraction. It's a very weak Machiavellian approach. Like, oh, look over here, look over here, look over here. Don't look over here where all the disasters are happening that we have caused, by the way. For fuck's sake, our last Prime Minister, such as she was, only lasted for, 4 months? And also managed to tank the UK economy within the matter of a week by her lunacy, and was ousted by her own peers. If you're that incompetent, if you're that bad, even the other fucking Tories don't want anything to do with you. You can't even imagine. But let's talk about high school students studying maths, right? What a load of bullshit. What a load of utter horseshit. And by the way, those who buy this nonsense, who don't see it for the performative, distractionary bullshit that it is, they deserve to have that oppressor's boot stamping down on their face forever and ever, because they clearly like it, right? They clearly love it. They clearly relish that master's boot in the face. They love that British class system where they're at the bottom in the dirt, and the masters, the born-to-privilege billionaires like Rishi Sunak, are at the top. They love that to bits, don't they? They will play the game. They will be led by the nose. They will buy into the narrative, and they'll use all of the language that's prescribed for them. They won't think about it, obviously. And this is really salient to the point, of course. People like Rishi Sunak is an objectivist, by the way, an avowed objectivist. And anyone who professes objectivism as their life philosophy in any seriousness or earnestness should be immediately ousted from public office. There should be something written into law or constitutions that means that makes you immediately incompetent. For those who don't know, objectivism is an idiotic excuse for a philosophy. It's very generous calling it that, but for the purposes of convenience, linguistic convenience, let's refer to it as that, with the inverted commas around it, by the way, with the quotation marks, because it barely warrants an ideology. What it actually is poorly interpreted, poorly understood, misapprehended, and deliberately rejigged Nietzsche. That's what objectivism is. It is horse shit. Anyone who has ever read Atlas Shrugged or The Fountainhead or anything written by Ayn Rand knows that it's horse shit, and that she herself, the creator of objectivism, died under circumstances and in a state that her own philosophy decries. She died penniless, relying upon the state, and as a drug addict, all things that objectivism itself claims are emblematic of weakness in humanity and worthy of condemnation. So, whenever you get, I'm sure I'm going to get some on this video, but watch people who do adhere to objectivism, who haven't evolved philosophically since the age of 14, haven't read anything else in their entire fucking lives, yet go and read Nietzsche, go and read Schopenhauer. They have problems too. All philosophers do, but at least they are fucking philosophers, unlike Ayn Rand. but watch them try and tie themselves in knots, attempting to justify the fact that their messiah, their saint, is basically the bad guy of her own philosophy. Couldn't even live up to the standards of her own ideology. That's fun. They tie themselves in such fucking knots, it's unbelievable. But yeah, Rishi Sunak is an objectivist, which basically, boiled down, is enshrined narcissism. It's enshrined narcissism. It's a way for those who are born to privilege to justify the fact that they were born to privilege because they deserve it. And everyone who is poor, well, they deserve to be poor, because that's what objectivism states. They didn't have the will, they didn't have the inspiration, they didn't have the drive. It ignores all other factors. It ignores complexity. In order to believe in objectivism, you need to ignore human history itself. You need to ignore all of the unspoken factors that are acting upon a human being before they're even fucking conceived, that are acting, geographical factors, cultural factors, political factors, genetic factors, for God's sake. All of these are acting upon us before we're even born to determine the conditions, not only into which we are born, which by and large we will continue to subsist in, as almost every study ever done fucking demonstrates. Those who manage to claw their way out of whatever quagmire they're born into generally are the outliers. They are the exceptions that prove the rule. They are not the rule itself. People who are born to privilege tend to stay privileged. They have all access to the influence, to the contexts, to the contacts, to everything, the arenas that they need to not only stay in privilege but to increase their privilege, whereas those who do not will remain so, because they do not have those same accesses as a matter of fucking birth. It's not rocket science. It's really not difficult. But our current Prime Minister is a fucking objectivist. I mean, that shows you just how far the UK has fallen. I mean, to be fair, they know they're fucked. The Tories know they are fucked. Not only are they fucked because everyone who votes for them is dying, young people don't vote for them. It's a very particular generation who votes for the Tories, and a very particular class in the UK, both of which are eroding as a result of what the Tories have done. That's the fun thing. They are out. They're done. Every opinion poll, every projection demonstrates it. But they've got 2 years. They can do so much fucking damage. And that's what they're going to do. They are going to do as much damage as they can so that when the next government gets in, they will have a disaster on their hands. A complete disaster on every level. And then, of course, the Tories can just sit on the sidelines. The right wing can just sit on the sidelines and say, they're not doing anything. Look at the mess that you're all in, and look who's in government. Let's leave aside the fact that over 20 years there's been nothing but fucking disasters from the Tories. Everything they have ever fucking done has been a complete disaster for this country. Their ideologies, their neoliberalism, their objectivism, every right-wing ideology that's been implemented in this country has destroyed it. And it's objectively true. It is not a matter of, you're just saying that because you're a lefty or because you're of this perspective. No. It is objectively true. You can walk out fucking side of your house and see the evidence of it. You can see the fucking roads that are not being repaired because the private companies which the councils are giving the contracts to are collapsing or can't do it. They don't have the manpower. You can go to the fucking train station and watch not only the train stations themselves collapsing, but the services collapsing in on themselves. No new trains have been built by the private industries that the Tories have sold our rail services to. You can go to the local fucking GP or doctors and boy, will you see it there. It's evident. It is evident. But here in the UK, we have a media landscape which is so tied to establishment that in order to see it, for normal people who don't operate in the right circles to see it, they have to stop They have to stop watching the BBC. They have to stop reading the mainstream newspapers. They have to go and do some fucking work and look at what is happening. And I've spoken to them. I've spoken to these people, those demographics, the sort of middle class. They call themselves liberal, but in reality they're actually on the right. They don't like to think that. They like the kudos of being liberal. They like to say, "Oh, I'm in favour of LGBTQ rights. I don't have a problem with refugees," but they fucking do, because they keep buying the Mail and the Sun, and they keep apologising for the right-wing movements and figures in our society. They do. Underneath it, they are fucking right-wing. They just don't want to admit it. They want the kudos of performing a sort of like pantomime of being liberal, when in fact they're not. Underneath, they're not, and they're just dishonest with themselves. And they are who the Tories rely on. They are who the Tories rely on. But even they now are starting to see, because at long last it's starting to affect them. The little bubbles that they've been operating in that's insulated them from all of the problems that the rest of us face are starting to erode. And as a result, they are finally, after years of apologising and quibbling, Jeremy Corbyn, Diane Abbott, they're actually starting to see now, because it's starting to affect their bank balance. It's starting to affect their convenience. That's really it. That's really it. These particular classes, which tend to be my parents' generation, by the way, who grew up in circumstances where they were kind of given everything. My dad has spoken to me about this. He talks regularly about how when he was a young man, if they didn't like their job, they would quit on the Friday, and Monday they just walk into another job. It didn't bother them. They were able to buy their houses on a single income, and not doing anything that profound. My dad was a butcher. Not a massive income whatsoever. And my mum never used to work when we were young. They managed to buy their house. It's impossible now with 2 incomes. It's impossible with 3 incomes. And good incomes as well. It is impossible. Absolutely impossible. And that is just a microcosm of the problems that young people are facing at the moment. But at long fucking last, it's starting to affect them. And it's about time. The thing is, there's so much damage already being done. There's so much fucking damage already being done. I don't know if the UK can claw its way back. And I certainly don't think we can survive another 2 years of the fucking Tories, because they're going to do everything they can to tear it down. They'll pretend not to. They'll do what Rishi Sunak is doing now. These little distractionary, diversionary things where it looks like they're doing something, but they're not really. As though a fucking born-to-privilege billionaire gives 2 fucking shits about whether working-class kids are good at maths. They've done everything in their power over their 10-year span to make sure those working-class kids stay in the fucking dirt, stay where they belong, that they go and get their minimum wage jobs producing in factories or packaging in the vast Amazonian storage centres and depots, and then they die conveniently before they have to be paid a pension. As though they give a shit. Also, there's another thing here as well. It's the fact that they've also done everything they can to demean and diminish other subjects, like, for example, the arts and the humanities. And the reason Tories and Conservatives and right-wingers always do this, the reason they attack the arts and the humanities, is because those arenas are antithetical to right-wing ideology. They are totally antithetical. They are corrosive to it. The moment you start practicing your imagination and engaging empathetically with the world around you, and you start questioning narrative, you start questioning the way things are, that's it. That's the end of right-wing ideology, because right-wing is establishment. Forget what fuckers like Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Clarkson and John Cleese and whatnot will fucking tell you. They are all old establishment shills. They are sons of bitches who, if they ever had any kind of counterculture revolutionary spark in them, it's long dead. They've sold themselves out to becoming the establishment that in some instances, like John Cleese, that they spent their youth fighting against and questioning. They have become it. Don't listen to them. everything in this culture, everything in this country is right-wing. Everything has been dominated by the right. And every platform that isn't, every arena that isn't, they go out of their way to attack and corrode and demean because they can't allow it. It's obvious. Like I said, all you have to do to see the failure of right-wing ideology in its purest manifestation is walk out your fucking door in the UK. Unless you live in one of the home counties that's been like, one of those little areas that's been completely insulated from the erosion that has destroyed this country over the last 20 years. Unless you live in Kent or Surrey or somewhere like that, you only have to walk out your fucking door. Especially if you live north of London. If you live anywhere in the Midlands, if you live anywhere up near Durham or Northumberland or anywhere like that, you will see it. They have done everything they can to destroy this country, whilst telling us, with the one hand, by the way, oh no, this is for the good of the country, this is going to... It's the same... Brexit was a microcosm of this. Brexit was a fucking microcosm of this. We were told so many lies. People were told so many fucking lies. Oh, 350 million for the NHS, which everyone behind Brexit, by the way, wants to sell off, or purchase, depending on where they are. The lies were unbelievable, and it was all about protecting billionaires, protecting the establishment, ensuring that the EU laws that apply to their wealth do not come into force, because people would have fucking rioted if they could have seen the filthy money that's going through the UK, particularly through the Tory party. Yeah, that's the truth of it. As though Rishi Sunak gives two fucking shits what a working class kid does. All they care about with regards to working class kids is they go through the system, they do as they're told, keep their heads down, do not complain about the boot in their face, the escalating boot in their face, and then they die quietly. Once they've basically not sold their labour to their masters, because you can't do that anymore. Our labour, despite the fact they want to regard everything in market terms, when we try to actually commodify our labour and actually use it in those terms, well, you're not paying for it as a commodity, so we're going to strike. We are not going to give it to you. Then they get authoritarian because it's the only way they can go. That's another thing Rishi Sunak's establishment is bringing in, anti-strike laws. They want us to suffer the worst drop in living standards in history and to be quiet about it. They want us to be quiet about it. So, you know what? The next step is fucking rioting. We need a general strike. We need riots up and down this fucking country. And we need to stop accepting that boot to our face. The British need to get out from under this class structure that is so ingrained in our culture, and in our, not just our culture, but in our narratives, in our meta-narratives, so we all kind of accept it. We bring it on board and we fucking accept it. Even when we believe we don't, it's there in our hearts, We need to get out from under that. We need to take a lesson from France. We need to take a lesson from Germany, where they would be up in fucking arms if half, if even an inch of what's been done over the Tories' tenure in this country had been done in France. France itself would be ablaze from border to border. There would be people hanging from fucking lampposts, I am telling you, in France, but not here, because we're British, aren't we, and we don't really do that. Well, we'll moan about it. Oh yeah, we'll moan about it, maybe at the queue at the GP, where we're waiting to see if we can actually get the life-saving drugs that we need, or the prescription that we need, or whether we'll be turned away because the doctor's fallen ill, or their hours have finished, or whatever. We'll moan about it, but I might write a letter to my MP who is in absentia because he has been outed as a serial sexual molester. This is my MP, by the way, but we haven't had a by-election. Still acting nominally as our MP. But yeah, that's where we are at the moment. So forgive, my loves, forgive anyone you may interact with online who happens to come from the UK at the moment, because I am telling you, it's heading to somewhere bad. You are going to see, this year I think, you are going to see riots across this country. And good. It's about time. That's where we've got to be perfectly honest, we need riots and we need them to be significant. We need them to be across the country. And yeah, they need to be aggressive. I'm really sorry. They need to be aggressive at this point. The establishment have demonstrated that nothing else will work. They've insulated themselves so well by their money, by the powers that be, by gigging the system, ultimately filling it with their mates and their buddies and their friends, and destroying any means by which they can even be criticised. You know, our mainstream media isn't going to do it, that's for damn sure. So that's what we need. They need to be afraid again. There's more of us than there are of them. If we could organise, if we could get together, we could stop it instantly. This town, this little town that I live in, if all of the working class people, the disabled people, the LGBTQ people, the people that the Tories fucking hate, the young people just stopped for a couple of days, that'd be it. That'd be it. They'd have no choice but to do something. And maybe that's the step. Maybe that's the way to go. But we'll see, won't we? Thank you for listening to me rant and rave. I don't normally do this on this channel anymore because it attracts the wrong kind of people. I'm not interested in a debate, by the way. As I said, I'm not going to debate any right-wing fucker on this channel. I'm really not, because debate is the area where it's the arena they prescribe, and that's what they want. I am not going to debate a fucker who is going to argue that the evidence of my eyes when I walk outside my own fucking house is wrong. So fuck you, by the way. Do not come into my comments saying, oh, debate. No, fuck you. I can just walk outside and show you the state of the roads. I can walk down the road and show you the state of the train station and of the train services. I can walk to my GP's office or the local hospital and show you the state of it all. Okay? So fuck you. No debate. It's evident at this point. Right-wing ideology is evil and poison and needs to be stopped in this country. Stopped dead, preferably.